is actually the same series as the heart series. And with all of these different series, I could be like, oh, let's do this series. Or, and you might have been like, oh, I really wanted to work on my liver. And it's a little bit like a piano, where if you hit a chord, like you'll get those notes a little louder, or those octaves a little louder, but actually all the strings in the piano vibrate and actually sound a little bit. So the yin practice is always holistic, no matter which organ you're concentrating on. So we're going to do a wide-kneed child's pose with a twist, and let's face that way. So take your knees wide. Bring your big toes together. And you come down to your elbows, and then you're going to thread your right arm behind your left elbow and bring your right ear onto the ground. Yes, perfect. Take a full inhale. And with your exhale, just sigh out. And take your knees as wide as they go. I said that right. And once you find yourself in the pose, you try to soften as much as you can. So let your fingers be heavy and relaxed. Let your tongue be heavy and relaxed. Feel your physical body. Notice how your energy is this morning. Maybe feeling perhaps it takes your energy a little longer to wake up. Or maybe you jumped out of bed and started going a mile a minute. Come on in. Hej, välkomna. Det finns 2 mattor kvar. Fint. And take a couple moments to notice how your feelings are this fine morning. And Lotta, if you make your mat go the same way, and you can kind of sneak in between, and we'll make room for you. Then come back to center and thread your left arm behind your right elbow. And Lotta, you can just start with a wide-kneed child's pose, stretching your arms straight forward, so then you'll be totally balanced. Sometimes I like to wrap my other arm behind me. So it's a full twist. And Rach, I meant this one. So keep your ear on the ground. Take a couple moments to see how your thinking has been this morning. How does it go together with how you're feeling and how your energy is? And just allow your imagination to go with these words, this invocation that Orland Bishop shares in his book, The Seventh Shrine. Infinite stars, infinite space, source of the knowledge of the world, giver of thoughts that empower creation, transforming light into the elements of matter. Radiate before my mind the 7 keys that unlock the door of the mystery temple, that I may enter and fulfill the purpose for which my birth initiates. So this invocation, this invitation for the forces and the creative forces that live outside of us. Stretches from the stars, from the space beyond that, all the way down to specifically you and your birth and what you're here for. And then unwind your arms, slide your knees together, moan and groan, feeling the sensations move through your body better, faster. And then you can take a child's pose for a moment, just squeezing in, taking your arms back behind you. And you can do it facing either way. And in kind of the darkness of this moment of your child's pose, just knit together an intention of yours and your personal story as we knit together with this kind of more epic arch of what we might talk about in class today. And then roll up and spin around on your mat and stretch your legs back. Bring your elbows forward and come into Sphinx. So you have your elbows just slightly in front of your shoulders, shoulder distance apart. If that's too much on your lower back, Miriam, you can slide forward a little bit. If it's too much on your lower back, you can always slide your arms a little bit more forward and your ribs drop down. And you can also kind of go in between. So if it's too soft, you can roll up the front of your yoga mat, or you can put books or something underneath your elbows and your forearms, and it lifts you up. You can either pull your shoulders down your spine, or you can let your shoulders fall up into your ears. And let's just start in the pose by doing a couple of neck rolls before you decide which position your shoulders should stay in, perhaps. And if it's a little bit tender, you kind of slow down and roll into it. And then take your neck circles in the other direction. And then find stillness, letting your shoulders drop up into your ears or pulling your shoulders down your spine. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs are referred to as the tender organ. And I don't know if in your biology classes, or wherever other classes maybe, that you've come across ever seeing lung tissue. I remember there was, I think I got to see pig lungs, and the tissues are quite thin, as you picture the lungs to be. You can see through them. I mean, all of our whole body is actually permeable by light. You know, we remember as a kid maybe putting a flashlight in your mouth and the red glows out from your face, or, you know, putting a flashlight in your hand, you can kind of see. But you want to understand that your whole body, sunlight actually can reach through your whole body. It's permeable. And then the tissues of the lung are even more kind of transparent. The heart and the lungs also, you know, when we study them, we go, okay, we're going to study the heart, and then we're going to study the lungs, and then we're going to study the blah, blah, blah. And it has this illusion of separateness, as a lot of our study introduces. But when you actually look at how the lungs and the heart work together, they're so, and how they physically are in the body, the heart is like in amongst the lungs nearly, and it's quite messy. So you can't really take them apart very easily. And even in our understanding of, you know, how the heart works or how the lungs work, they're so close together that it's not surprising then that the meridians for them are also very similar. And the meridians are these pathways of energy that are connected to the different organs. In traditional Chinese medicine, they're called meridians. In Vedic tradition, they're called the nadis. In traditions we haven't discovered yet, they're probably called something else. And it's kind of this holistic understanding of the body that not only are our organs kind of working together and mashed together and as one, really, but that throughout our whole physical body there are lines of energy that are connected to these deep inner forces in our body. So the meridian of the heart basically comes from your pinky and goes here and then crosses at your heart and then goes up into the face and divides and goes, yeah, up into your eye, like right around your eyes. And the meridian of the lungs does very similar, but what it does like a circle around this cross in the middle of your chest. I mean, it nearly looks like a Celtic cross. Have you seen those? How they work together. So it's a very, like, I don't know, kind of the holy center of our body, you might even say. And in different religions or different traditions, they're lifted up in different ways. So notice your breath. Feel the tenderness of your breath. Notice how your body feels when you inhale. Breathe in. Notice how your body feels when you exhale. Take 10 more full deep breaths. And after your 10th breath, just lower down to the ground. And even if your friends haven't reached 10 breaths yet, you can moan and groan. Wiggle your hips side to side. Feel the movement, release the tension. And if you lost count between 1 and 10, no big deal. Just allow yourself to come down to the ground. Now you're going to stretch your right arm straight out from your shoulder to the right. You can negotiate with the chairs and stuff if they're in your way, Dora. And then turn your face away from your right hand and look to your left. Hug your knees up to your chest, coming to the outside of your left thigh. So you hug your knees up to the right side of your chest. So if you imagine the floor is in front of me, my right arm's going back, and then I bring my knees to the other side. Fantastic. You might find that your head is way above the ground and you need to use a pillow. Or if you're practicing at home, small pets, stack of books. Now, with your knees higher than your hips, beautiful. You're going to stretch your top arm up to the sky. So that's your left arm. And then reach your left hand back and see if you can hold hands behind you, but without significantly lowering. So here you are, knees up, reaching your hands back. If you have to take your hands down to your hips to hold hands, let go and actually just be reaching. And you know from being in the pose that there's already enough sensation there, so maybe unbite your lip. Here, you can lift up your head. Does that make it a little better? And now take your left foot and step on to the yoga mat behind your right leg. So just like you would stamp your foot. Nice. And if you're nice and open and flexible, you might even be able to and want to bring your right foot onto the ground. So some people can twist so much in their spine here that both their feet are on the ground, the yoga mat, and both their hips roll open. Sometimes you just need a little help from your friends. And reaching for it is great. There's no, prize once you get there. Or not very tangible, I guess. So this tender organ, the lungs, is coupled with the large intestines as the young complementary organ, where the heart is coupled together with the small intestines. And in our breath, we have our first opportunity to take in energy from the world, to take in chi. This is how our life starts, with our first breath. And part of the tenderness of our lungs is also such that, we know we can go, was it the rule of threes? You can go 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, but barely 3 minutes without air. You can go a little bit like that. When we're having problems in our lungs, and when the energy of our meridians isn't balanced in our lungs and small and large intestines, what shows up as an emotion in response to that is despair. And this deep despair around the loss of things, specifically. And then roll onto your belly, moan and groan a bunch. Notice that your feelings move through your body better if you make sounds. That's actually the dramatic part of the lungs. Talking, sounding. And we have another side. So stretch your left arm out. You might have to negotiate with the wall or your neighbors. Reach your left arm straight out from your shoulder. Hug your knees up to your chest on your right hand side, looking to the right. So you want your knees as high as your hips. And then stretch your right arm up first, really feeling it extend the skin around your heart. And then reach back and hold hands if you can without lowering your left arm. And if you have to lower it, like, no big deal. If your fingers are really close but you can't feel them, get a friend to help you find them. Or just feel around for them. And once you have the grip, of course you might have to wiggle your arm down to get the grip, but once you have the grip, really bring your arms back up. And now maybe step onto the floor with your right foot behind your left leg. And maybe bring your other foot onto the ground as well. See, isn't this so true? We know this all the time. Our friends are they so need our eyes to see better, especially behind our backs. When our lungs and large intestines are doing well, the experience that becomes more immediately available to us is an experience of courage and reverence and this and valuing the present moment. So courage, we kind of have a bodily awareness of how that's connected to our breath. You know, if you're going to dive off a big, tall thing, you take a deep breath, maybe it's because of the water, and then you dive in. But if you're going to do something challenging, do you notice how you respond? And sometimes when we are in a moment that is so beautiful or precious in a way, you might even notice that you hold your breath, trying to hold on to that moment. So the humans, I include myself in that group, we do weird things. We do a whole bunch of weird things. One of them is, if we don't want to feel something, we hold our breath. The other one is, if we don't want to let go of a feeling, we hold our breath. You know, that moment when you're pissed off and angry and someone's like, oh, just take a deep breath. You know, intuitively we have this very reactive connection to our breathing. And in our breath we also have this bridge between what is awake and conscious in our body and what lies asleep and beyond our control in our body. So you can notice that in your physical body, as you move from the head down into the body, you actually lose consciousness. So we're pretty awake, all of these senses in our head. And the breath is really this intermediary. So on purpose, we can slow our breathing down. And that intention and purpose and act actually slows the beat of our heart down. But notice if I said to you, oh, could you just put your stomach on pause? Or could you make your liver work a little better? You need to take in something to help you do that. We can't really even throw up, or not all of us can throw up on purpose. Now come back to center. Wiggle your fingers, moan and groan, make sure everything's working. Oh, feelings. And then it's like you knew, Anna. You're going to lift up into Sphinx. See, you totally have this now. Either Sphinx or Seal, and I got something for you. So, Seal is where you stretch your arms out. Unless you want to do the whole just in Seal, which you probably do. Does anybody else want this for the in-between between Sphinx and Seal? You put the mat underneath your arms. You get a little levitation. Absolutely. And so the cool thing is, like, if you chose Seal and like halfway through you're like, I'm going to be crazy, Seal, then just come down to Sphinx. There's no pressure to prove anything. You just want to practice kind of nobly standing at your edge, being at your edge, between what you know and what you don't know, what you think you can do and what you hope you might be able to do. And really, this place of the edge is honoring so much the present moment. A lot of us give a lot of our attention and energy away when we spend a lot of time thinking about the past. Or if we spend a lot of time imagining the future. And one of the healthiest practices to do all day long is to really practice being present. Like, you notice sometimes you can get your body places, but like you're still totally somewhere else. In the lungs, the celebration is of the things that only last a little while, the ephemeral. There's a celebration of the moment. Because we know that everything can change in a matter of seconds. So we understand that our breath is so vital. We can witness how our breathing, the very thing that starts life itself on earth, is this bridge to the places that lie below our consciousness in our body, in our being. We recognize it as so essential, but it's this third element in the lung, kind of the healthy lung experience of reverence that we're becoming more and more foreign to. So do you understand what the word reverence means? I'm seeing some nod, maybe. It's the reverence, they're the same word evolved to be revering somebody, or being a reverent, like a priest, of having something that you believe is mightier and more mysterious and more powerful than you, that you kind of humble and bow down to. And it's also you can get this feeling from like a sunset, or like an amazing tree, or a beautiful bird, or when you're lucky, even from seeing the countenance on someone's face. Like people can move us to believe in something holy just by how beautiful something is. And this is an area where, because of the evolution of our consciousness and the independence that we have gained in our individuality, we are so free that we don't even have to experience reverence. We don't even have to believe in anything. That's how free we are. But our culture that rejects a lot of the past of traditions of religions, traditions of tribes, traditions of families even. A lot of those things that are being rejected are the places in which, in the past, we experienced this reverence or cultivated this reverence. This love and appreciation for what's magnificent and big and large in this world. And then slowly release yourself down to the ground. You can bend your knees and let your legs go side to side. You feel free to make some sounds. That's one of the holy things our lungs help us do. Well, yeah. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders and shift your hips back to your heels. And we're going to come into Anahata Asana. Oh, yeah. So Anahata is the Sanskrit for the heart and the heart chakra. And this pose, also the non-beautiful name for it is quarter dog. Sounds so American when I say that. You're going to slide down to your elbows. You start on your hands and knees. And then you want to have your knees right underneath your hips. And you slide your arms forward and bring your forehead down to the ground. If your nose is in the way, you can just grab onto one of your elbows and rest your forehead on your forearm. And then your face isn't smushing into the mat. But it's not necessarily. So you can feel it's like your butt in the air pose. And you might feel that with every exhale especially, your chest drops towards the ground, towards the earth. So yeah, exactly. Keep your hips where they are. Beautiful, Dor. I come home from soaring, in which I lost myself. I was song and the refrain, which is God. And it's still roaring in my ears. Now I am still and plain. No more words. To others I am like the wind. I made them shake. I'd gone very far as the angels, and high, where light thins into nothing. But deep in the darkness is God. So when one of my teachers, Carolyn Mist, talks about faith, and she talks about how, in this day and age, not a lot of people are putting their faith into the spirit or spirituality. She asks the questions, okay, where are you putting your faith? And it's a little bit the same for me with reverence. What is it that you can bow down in front of and be humble? When we get seduced by materialistic thinking or images that others had presented you, it's easy to want to dismiss a God that looks like a white old guy, master of colonization. But when we lift ourselves up out of the materialism, throughout the ages, through art, through poetry, through music, God has been a big mystery, actually, and dark, unknown. There's this, it's a Sufi saying, actually, or idiom. When I search for myself, all I find is God. And when I search for God, all I find is myself. And let your hips sink back to your heels. Again, take your arms back behind you, coming into the child pose version with your arms behind. I sometimes call it embryo pose or seed pose. It's fine to moan and groan. And then inhale up, roll your chest up, cross your ankles, roll over your crossed ankles. And we're going to come into dragonfly. So let's just for fun turn this way. You might have to slide a little bit, Gabrielle, just so you have room. But turning this way, yeah, thank you. That was a lot. Take your legs wide. And we're doing a lateral dragonfly. So you're going to take your left arm and slide your elbow in front of your leg or on top of your leg or somewhere around your leg. You might want to be seated on something to lift your hips higher. Yeah, you can sit on the yoga mat or sweatshirts. And then drape your right arm over your ear, maybe holding onto your toes. You might notice that it's convenient to bend your elbow and hold your beautiful head. You want to keep your chest open. And you can really let your hand kind of like flop around your head. You want to feel this stretch in between your ribs, your intercostal muscles. See how much you can soften into the pose here, letting your muscles relax. So this is a yin yoga practice, and for years I totally, had this problem of believing what I thought. And the yin-yang symbol with the black and the white, for years I totally thought, oh yeah, duh. The black side's the male, the masculine, the yang, and the white side's the yin, and it's completely backwards. The yin really celebrates actually the darkness and the unknown and the mystery, as well as being connected to the feminine. And you'll start to recognize a pattern in the world, especially in the age and time that we're living in, where anything that you can't hold in your hand and count or see under a microscope even is dismissed. This is part of why it's so not like popular to be religious. Spiritual even is a little questionable, yeah? Everyone agrees that we have a physical body. But when it comes to the question of a soul, some people think we have a soul. But when it comes to the question, even more mysterious, of a spirit, now that's getting too weird. And a lot of people reject the idea that there's something in us of that nature. Inhale, lift up. You can take your hands either side of your thigh, just do a little booty lift. Maybe lift it all up. And then other side's gonna be awesome. Slide your arm on top of your leg or in front of your leg. Maybe it's convenient, maybe it's convenient enough to hold your head. Really try to feel like you're making your left hip heavy. Keeping your heart open. So too many parts of the world right now are reminding us how the struggle to accept the feminine is just by no means over. Battles that have been won are being reviewed. Rights we thought were established are being taken away. Human rights are drastically different from country to country, from place to place. But even in the most progressive countries, there's still a real struggle to understand the feminine, let alone accept. So we're very good about now in these progressive places like Sweden to really celebrate a woman if she does something well, just like a man. And it's only now starting to, percolate in the alternative corners, or that maybe there's something else to celebrate. That maybe that's not quite enough, actually. Inhale, lift up. Do a little. Nice. And then twist to the middle and start to curl down in the middle. So this this time that we're living in, it's very radical to be spiritual, to be a feminist even, or to lift up the elements that are the mysteries. And the more unconscious elements of our lives. By starting to notice where you can bring more reverence and awe and wonder into your own day-to-day experience is actually an act of revolution. You can let your elbows be heavy, so you don't have to stretch. You just be more like Jell-O. When we start to have the courage to look at the parts of us that are mysterious to us, it's also part of the revolution. So really, the message is to fight your despair with reverence, with awe, with courage. Inhale, roll up. So cool when you're not staying there 10 minutes. Bring your hands mid that, lift it up, and then spin it around and slowly lie onto your back, hugging your knees to your chest. Open up your knees. Open up your arms to a T and slowly drop your knees to the left. Take your gaze to the right. One of the amazing things that we as humans can do is we gift our attention to different things. And it's like this life-giving attention. Notice how even with some people, if you pay attention to them, they light up a little bit more. Or with plants, if you give them attention, they do better. Anything, any texture. This capacity of the human being to lift up something, to make it sacred, is a capacity we don't want to lose sight of, we don't want to lose practice with. And really, to make something sacred, often there will be a sacrifice. Something that you lay down to lift something else up. With your inhale, bring your knees back to center and slowly let your knees drop to the right. Take your gaze to the left. Feel how much your breath changes you. Take a full inhale, and with your exhale, just sigh it out. I'm going to read that poem one more time by Rainer Maria Rilke. I come home from the soaring in which I lost myself. I was song, and the refrain, which is God, is still roaring in my ears. Now I am still and plain. No more words. To others I am like the wind, and I made them shake. I'd gone very far as the angels, and high, where light thins into nothing. But deep in the darkness is God. And then come back to center. Stretch out your legs. Palms open to receive. Come into Shavasana, corpse pose. One of the ultimate mysteries. So close your eyes. Feel free to cover yourself with your sweatshirts or put your socks on, of course. Let gravity hold you. And instead of drifting away and going into the mystery of sleep, keep your attention and light here. How you feel in your body, how it is in the room. With your next inhale, invite your breath to the edges of your body and feel your awareness travel with your breath. Maybe wiggle your fingers and toes, and with your inhale, stretch your whole body long. And with your exhale, curl up into a ball and roll onto your left-hand side, hugging your knees to your chest. Just like you were in the mysterious dark womb of your mom. And then help yourself up. Come up into a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. Perfect timing. Lift up tall, let your elbows be heavy. And let's close with one final Om. So empty your breath, take a deep inhale. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward together, we say, Namaste. Gonna make a little bit of noise. Woo! Ow! Thank you so much for being here. Go out there and be awesome.